folks, it's Jake here at Canadian Cutting Edge, and I've got a knife from Germany today. Handcrafted in Germany, handmade knife. This is a PUMA knife, 4116. That's a German stainless steel that's very high in stain resistance. It takes a fair bit to get this thing to rust. Decent enough steel. Rockwell is usually around, 56 on this, 55 to 57, so I'd say 56 on it. We've got a sort of classic kind of looking blade here, clip point with a swedge here, nice belly and a flat zone there to cut with, some jimping back here, back lock, old school back lock knife, and the back lock sort of pulls it closed and of course locks it in the open position. It's a classically strong lock, and it's 2/3 of the way back is where the lever is, the press part of the lever is to unlock it. Jimping is fairly aggressive. We've got olive wood on here. Very, very comfortable in hand. So this is definitely a knife for making some hard use out of. A good hunting knife, a good outdoorsman's knife. If you're interested in this, heck, even if you're not, check out the full review of this guy. Coming at you right now. If you're looking for a review where I, on video, put this through some hard paces, that's not what this review is going to be. I did do such when I was testing it. I just didn't take any video of it. And I don't want to make a big mess inside the house. And it's just an awful mess outside. The way the temperature is right now, things are melting. It's just terrible. And we're going to get another cold spell right after that too. So just nasty. I want to get this review out to you guys because I've had this knife for, I don't know, about a month and a half now. Time to let you in on all its little secrets. Satin finish on the steel here. We've got, this is part of the PUMA IP line. It's a German knife. This is the El Dedo, and the name is right there on the handle. El Dedo, handmade. This came to me via PumaKnives.ca. It's a distributor, a new distributor here in Canada. He's in Ottawa area. So if you want to get this knife, please contact PumaKnives.ca and let them know that Jake at CCE sent you. Oh, I got some pen mark on there already. Well, since this is olive wood, that's going to be relatively easy to clean up. Some very light sanding will probably get rid of that if I can't wash it off. But look at the character on that wood. Really, really nice character on that olive wood. I could, give a really glossy finish to this if I wanted to refinish it, which is very easy to do. As you can see, we've got pins here holding it together. And then at the pivot, they've got a screw that they finished off. And on this side, there's, 4 holes and there's 5 holes. This is designed not to come apart. It's not for the end user to take it apart, kind of like a Victorinox knife. So there is precedence for knives that are not designed for the end user to take apart. And people love them and buy them all the time. I do like knives that I can take apart and do maintenance, but there's no maintenance to do on a backlock knife, really. You can get in there with a needle oiler and add a little bit of oil when you need to. And that's all you need to do other than sharpening the blade, and you've got plenty access to the blade. We've got a very, very, almost a sharpener's choil tiny thing right here, but not really. Hollow grind, and then a hollow swedge back here as well. Let's give you the dimensions of everything. Cutting edge is 8.35 centimeters, which is 3.29 inches. Blade length, so from the end of the handle to the tip of the blade, is 9.2 centimeters. That's 3.63 inches. The blade thickness, it's 2.49 millimeters, 2.5 millimeters basically. That's 0.098, so basically 1/10 of an inch thick. The thickness of the edge behind the grind, this is very nice. I was surprised. 0.45 millimeters, and usually on a knife this size, my target is, I'm hoping that the manufacturer will make it 0.5 millimeter thick, and I'm happy if they put it up to 0.6 of a millimeter. But this is really, really nice at 0.45. So that means you've got a nice narrow edge. It slices very well. A good cutting knife. Just those dimensions themselves tell you as much as watching me cut stuff would. Very, very nice knife that way. And as I said, the 4116 is a really good stainless steel for rust resistance. So if you live in an area where there's a little bit more salt water, a little more humidity and stuff, a knife with this kind of steel is a really good choice. Let's talk about the handle, which I was almost skipping over. Handle length, 11.5 centimeters, 4.54 inches. The grip area inside here is 9.71 centimeters. That's 3.82 inches. The handle thickness is about 2 centimeters. That's 0.79 of an inch. And notice there's no lanyard hole. There's no pocket clip. And I don't have a pouch, or at least I do have pouches that I can use this with, hip pouches, but one doesn't come with this. But that's not a problem because I've got a number of hip pouches and you can always buy them on the market separately as well. The total length of this knife is 20.6 centimeters, which is 8.11 inches. It weighs 119 grams, 4.15 ounces. A big 8-inch knife at 4 ounces, not bad at all. So that's a really, really good knife that way. Fit and finish is done very well. Take a look at that. You can see how well they've matched everything up. You do get a little bit of wear marks on either side of the knife there by where it pivots across. That's because there's just very little tolerance between the liners there, the steel liners, and then the wooden handle scales. So the steel liners and the blade, not an awful lot of extra space in there, but that helps keep it snug. No blade play back and forth. Very, very tiny bit of blade play up and down. And that probably comes down to the hand fit and finish on this handmade knife. It's not perfectly made. It's just an ever so tiny bit of blade play this way. Not bad. How much does this knife cost you? Well, it's in Canada, so Canadian dollars, it's $98.95. So if you like this thing, check out PumaKnives.ca and order one in. I think you're going to like it very much. The jimping on here on this thumb riser there is aggressive, but not overly so. So you could work on that for quite a long time. The olive wood I already talked about is great. Rust resistant steel. Looks really nice, super comfortable for long-term use, you know, especially with these four choils there for your fingers. Oh, I forgot to mention the handle this way, about 2.6 centimeters. It's about 1 inch. Same thing on the blade here. It's about 2.6 centimeters, right around 1 inch of depth on the blade and the handle. What don't I like about this knife? Well, I do prefer knives that are designed for end user maintenance, but I do buy Victorinoxes, and so I do have a history of buying knives that aren't for the maintenance of the consumer. So, you know, that's okay. It's not a really big deal to me, but if that's a big deal for you, be aware that that's what this is. And other than the tiny bit of blade play, that's the only negatives. This is a nice knife. Well, maybe one more thing. I would have liked a little bit bigger sharpener's choil right in here so that when I sharpen to the end, I won't get into the plunge or mess up the ricasso or anything. Some people might notice there's a little bit of a dot right there. And that's because Puma Knives does a hardness test on every single one of their knives that goes out their doors. And they do the Rockwell hardness test on it. The amount of pressure that it takes for the tester to go in tells you how hard the steel is. That's in a nutshell what a Rockwell tester does. And so their knives will always have a tiny little dot on the surface of the steel in roughly that area because they actually test it. That's a good thing. There's a lot of manufacturers, you know, they just push knives out the door and they might test 1 in 100, 1 in 500 as they're going through production. And as long as those ones come out good, everything's fine. Well, I think it's a whole lot better idea to test absolutely every single one. It does add a little bit of production expenses, but you can trust this knife to be ready for you. So there you go. Let's do a couple cut tests. I've got a USB cable here. So it's got 4 wires inside it, and it's got some metal sheathing, and it just goes through easily, no problem at all. Let's just cut it this way. As you can see, it doesn't take a lot of force at all to cut through there. Part of it is having the perfect size handle. My hands are large. They border on extra large. And it's just perfect for, cutting with. This knife has been sharpened by me at home. And so, you can see it'll cut straight down into paper if you want it to. And will it slice paper? Well, all day long. Well, how long does it stay sharp? Well, 4116 is, it's right in that zone between budget steel and medium grade steel, in my personal opinion. It's a little bit closer to medium grade steel than it is to a budget steel. And that's why it has sort of the price point that it does. And it is a very common steel for kitchen knives. A lot of knives have German 4116 in them. And that's, again, because it's got the good rust resistance. And so if you know of somebody who's a hunter, this would make a very good gift for them, because hunters end up cutting apart animals, and you've got lots of liquids. You've got blood, you've got bodily fluids and stuff as you're taking apart an animal. And then you want a knife that'll be able to whittle wood as well. This thing can do that. It's just an all-round good user knife. So if I have interested you in this knife, please make sure that you go to PumaKnives.ca. There are other vendors. He's a new up-and-coming distributor. It's a new business for him. So if you are going to buy one of these, please get it from him so that it can help him get started. Thank you so much for watching this video. Thanks for liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. And again, I remember my Patreon supporters. You guys are the best. Thank you very much. And remember, guys, always cut towards your chum, not your thumb.